Now to Ukraine, where the country is seeing the most violent protests yet. The latest news, the Ukrainian president has agreed to a truce with opposition leaders. According to the presidential website, he's agreed to start negotiations with protesters. Dozens of people are reported dead as rioters clash with the police. This after officers attempted to clear out Independence Square, the hotbed of protests in the capital city of Kiev. At least 9 officers were killed, according to the Interior Ministry. U.S. and European leaders are pinning the blame on the Ukrainian government for using force. But questions of credibility are being raised after a private chat between 2 top U.S. diplomats was leaked online. In it, you hear them discussing how to influence the political structure of the Ukrainian government. Take a listen.
The Klitschko piece is obviously the complicated electron here, especially the announcement of him as deputy prime minister. And you've seen some of my notes on the troubles in the marriage right now. So we're trying to get a read really fast on where he is on this stuff. I'm glad you sort of put him on the spot on where he fits in this scenario.
So I don't think Klitsch should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea.
In terms of him not going into the government, just let him sort of stay out and do his political homework and stuff.
I think Yats is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, what he needs is Klitsch and Tony Book on the outside. He needs to be talking to them 4 times a week.
That was just a week ago. Here's what President Obama said today.
We hold the Ukrainian government primarily responsible for making sure that it is dealing with peaceful protesters in an appropriate way, that the Ukrainian people are able to assemble and speak freely about their interests without fear of repression. We expect the Ukrainian government to show restraint, to not resort to violence in dealing with peaceful protesters. We've said that we also expect peaceful protesters to remain peaceful.
President Obama made those comments today during a quick visit to Mexico. He was dealing with protesters of his own, as you see here, protesters clashing with police. And during that trip, President Obama also said that there could be consequences if the government does not back down in the form of sanctions. But Ukraine says it's the protesters that are fueling the violence, pointing to the death of several police officers. Ukraine's top security agency says that it's launching a counterterrorism operation now. The agency says protesters seized over 1,500 firearms and 100,000 bullets in the last 24 hours. As the country turns to chaos, is there any solution in sight? RT's Igor Piskunov is reporting in Kiev.
Russia's President Putin and German Chancellor Angela Merkel have discussed the situation here in Ukraine, and the Russian leader has told Angela Merkel that the West should focus more on condemning the actions of the radical right-wing rioters and what they do at these protest rallies, and paying more attention to what the Ukrainian authorities are doing to try to calm the situation down and resolve this issue. And earlier, Russia's foreign ministry accused the right-wing radicals of continuing the violence, of firing live rounds at the authorities. This happened last night. There were injuries and fatalities on both sides. The foreign ministry also accused the Ukrainian leaders of the opposition of failing to control the opposition and to prevent this violence from happening. They've also been criticizing the West from taking the side of the opposition here in Ukraine.
That was RT's Igor Piskunov. The conflict has divided the country, with opposing sides blaming each other for escalating the violence. Sergei Trifkovich is a foreign affairs editor at the Chronicles magazine. Here's his take.
We have witnessed brazen hypocrisy from the European Union ever since the beginning of this crisis. From the phase of demonstrations early on, the protests had degenerated into hooliganism in mid-December and into terrorism since January 19th. And we can no longer use the term demonstrators. I would rather use the term rebels, because we are looking at de facto armed rebellion. For Yanukovych to continue listening to the clarion calls from the West, and he has also been called by Biden and by Kerry and asked for restraint, would be simply self-defeating, because all of these people are up to no good. They want regime change. They're interested in a geopolitical control over the key country in Central Eastern Europe.
That was Sergei Trifkovich, a foreign affairs editor at the Chronicles magazine.